Happy Halloween. Leave now while you still can.
Leave now before Master finds you.
Who is that knocking at my door? Who is that knocking at my door? Who is that knocking at my door? Be gone with you.
Hello everyone, I'm joined again by my father here for a horror movie review. Say hi, Dad.
Hi, everybody.
In today's video, actually, this is going to be marking another 100-year anniversary celebration of the 1923 The Hunchback of Notre Dame with Lon Chaney Sr. Isn't it crazy how all these movies are almost a century, 100 years old, hitting their big milestones?
Right, it is.
Yeah. I can only imagine what this was like when people saw back in 1923 when this movie came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think of Lon Chaney Sr.'s Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Well, he's fantastic, and as everybody I'm sure knows, he did his own makeup.
Yeah.
So he devised this costume, not only the facial makeup, but his whole approach to the character, and the way he twisted himself in a deformed way to play this character.
Right.
It's just a magnificent work of a magnificent performance.
It is. No, it's definitely one of his best performances. Like you said, the makeup is great, and it's just a great film in general. Besides that, I love the atmosphere of this film. I really get that sense of medieval times. As a little kid watching this, I was very intrigued with it, thinking, am I really watching footage of? But little did I know, but that was before the internet at the time. Watching this as a kid.
Right. Yeah. And one thing to remember too is that it's not only a matter of makeup and transforming himself into this character. It's also the humanity that he gives to this character and the pathos. You feel sorry for this poor human being that was born this way.
Yeah. It's a little bit like a Ugly Duckling story in some ways when you think about it, but this is also really considered one of the most true adaptations of the Victor Hugo novel from 1831. This movie.
Yeah, and it is. There is a major difference in the ending, which I won't reveal to people if they want to read the book.
Yeah.
But it does end in a tragic way.
It does,
and which is also consistent with the book ends in a tragic way, but it's just different.
Every time I watch that, I'm no, you don't want because it's not in the book it's Frollo, but they don't call him that in this film. He stabs him, and after stabbing him, he goes he's in pain and agony, knowing that he's going to die, and I guess before he died, he thought the last thing he wants to do is hear the church bell towers of Notre Dame before. Sad, tragic ending.
And he also looks at Esmeralda and is happy to see that she seems to have found happiness.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I like that scene. After when he's framed for crimes he did not commit, that Frollo basically used him as a patsy, and they're torturing him, they're throwing things at him, he's dehydrated, and that scene because at first when Esmeralda first met him, she was horrified by him, but then when she sees the way he's being treated, she realized maybe he's not as bad as I thought he was. She misjudged him, and then also Quasimodo develops a liking towards her because she was probably the first person to be first went from being scared to being friendly with Quasimodo. I don't know if you also know this too. This was I don't really know if this was the first but this was considered one of the first of the Universal monsters before a decade later what we got with Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, and the Invisible Man. So this is basically the first Universal monster movie ever made. But the funny part is, despite that, the movie's in the public domain somehow, despite this was made by Universal back in the 20s. I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Every now and then that happens, and I wonder how it happened too.
Yeah.
But
crazy and strange.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons why there's a lot of different various ways of, or various versions of it in DVD and VHS.
Yeah.
And most of them really don't look good at all.
No, but the Blu-ray really was the best quality of all of them. And
this is the best quality that you can see it in, this Blu-ray.
When I saw this on DVD as a kid, I don't remember if there was like a specific like soundtrack score, but watching this on the Blu-ray, I liked the soundtrack quality that whoever like added that into this movie was really good. Also, I want to talk about what did you think of like the actress who played Esmeralda in this movie?
Yeah, I thought she was she's very attractive.
Yeah.
And, you could see why everybody is falling in love with her.
Yeah. Beautiful woman.
Yes.
And also, I thought it was like interesting how when she falls for Phoebe, because you know she's a gypsy. You know, there's like tons of like themes about like class in this movie, and and it just shows like it shows like the corruption. How like there are some people in class who are good, bad, and evil. Like wait, what's his name? Yehan, if I'm saying it right.
Who's that?
The Frollo, the bad guy.
Oh yeah.
But they call him Yehan
Oh, I don't remember.
But anyway, well, in the book he's called Frollo, but that's not what they call him in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I like how like when Phoebus is like being shown like being charismatic and you know see how handsome he is, how she's like falling for him, and how that he teaches her how to be a lady, but she feels like out of like touch because that was not her upbringing. She was like raised in a gypsy crowd. Yeah.
As usual, here's a few things I forgot to mention in this video that you'll hear throughout this entire video. Throughout this entire movie, you see this middle-aged woman who screams insult Esmeralda, calling her whore and kill her. I forget what other insult she calls Esmeralda. You learn from her background that she was not always the way she was. She had a daughter that was stolen from her by the gypsies. After that, she was never the same person. She blames the gypsies. She's gone half her life wondering where her daughter was and prays to God to see her daughter one more time before she dies. When Esmeralda's about to be executed for a crime she did not commit and was framed for, she grabs Esmeralda and the guards stop her. She grabs the necklace, realizing that this was the same necklace she gave her daughter when she was a baby. She's in shock. Crazy how she was a minor character, yet she was so memorable for this part. Anytime I've gone back to rewatch this scene, I find this part very sad and tragic. Here was a woman whose child was stolen from her, and throughout the entire movie, she was calling Esmeralda insults, shouting, "Kill her," to save her. Then she dies in shock, realizing that was her daughter the whole entire time. Very sad and tragic, and very powerful for a 1920s movie.
And the guy who did Phoebus did a pretty good job too, and he looks almost identical to like Kevin Kline a little, because Kevin Kline did, and probably I'll admit, like a lot of like '90s kids, we were introduced to Hunchback of Notre Dame from the Disney version, but this is not even close to what Disney did.
Right.
Yeah. But it's hard to even like the Disney version had its dark moment, but this film is also darker too in its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this might have been the first, or I can't remember. This may have been the first time, or maybe the Lawton version, where it's like I was learning about this is what the real, like, true dark story of the Hunchback was compared to what I was used to as a kid with the Disney version. But this is also going to come as a surprise to you. I watched this version a lot more than I did Lawton's version out of all the serious adaptations. Could you believe that?
Yeah, no, I can believe it.
I think because I was so, like, amazed with Lon Chaney's the makeup and also the atmosphere to this film, as if I was really in medieval times.
Yeah, and also in Lawton's version, they did a similar thing in terms of the set.
Right.
Because they rebuilt, they reconstructed, and tried to duplicate Notre Dame Cathedral.
Right.
And there was a big budget on that film also.
Right. Also, like as when I was rewatching for this video, I never like realized the torture, like where when Esmeralda is accused of killing Phoebus. They bring her down to like the torture chambers where I never realized like, oh my god, like I never like gave it much of a thought like how brutal that is. Like they don't really go much into like over the top with it, but it's still like very torture and brutal how like the way they treat her for a crime she did not commit. Or that one guy who's like has his arms up in the air like like a symbol of Jesus Christ in a way. Yeah, really it feels like so realistic to me of like those scenes.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. And also,
the part when Quasimodo saves Esmeralda from being killed, he protects her by bringing her to the Notre Dame church. When the gypsies come charge at the church, this reminded what was to come a decade later with the Angry Town Villagers and Universal Monsters, Frankenstein, and other horror movies. For what I understand, this part was in the book, but to me this part was insane. Quasimodo goes a little over the top, dropping liquid fire and blocks in the town villagers. It's understanding why he does this to protect Esmeralda because he loves her. But Esmeralda didn't like seeing people getting killed and murdered. She wanted to keep the peace and prove her innocence no matter the cost. She just wanted to have violence involved. Not only was Quasimodo protecting Esmeralda from the people, he was also protecting her from Frollo. Again, I know it's pronounced Jahan, but I had a hard time remembering saying his name correctly. I apologize. It's a great climatic finale, total chaos and insane. When Quasimodo throws Frollo off the Notre Dame church roof, I don't feel sorry for him. It was not a big loss. Good riddance to him. Frollo was an evil bastard scumbag. He lusts for Esmeralda and has an unhealthy obsession for showing Esmeralda his love for her. Jahan stabs Phoebus, frames Esmeralda. In the title cards he says, "All I've done is love for you." Esmeralda refuses him, would rather hang instead of being with him. You can't blame her for not wanting him, he's a prick. What kind of love is that? Frame her for a crime she did not commit. That's not love.
Also, like, I love the acrobats. Well, even though it wasn't Lon Chaney doing those stunts, but still, they were very impressive by the guy who did it. It's done by Joe Bonomo, who was a bodybuilder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, he was.
I used to think that before I looked it up on the internet, I thought that was really Lon Chaney doing those acrobat scenes.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And if people who have watched Murders in the Rue Morgue with Bela Lugosi,
right,
that was Joe Bonomo doing the ape.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Climbing on the roofs at the end.
Oh,
of the
wow.
movie. Yeah.
I did not know that was. I thought that was. Because that, like, I remember last year I did a video on that. I mentioned how, like, certain shots it's a guy in a costume, or certain shots it's actually a real right. Which, yeah, it's like having that movie had me fooled at times.
Yeah.
Anyway, and also I wanted to point out how this is like the most like extreme, like people like point out with Lon Chaney's makeup effect. He used knotted wig, nose, putty for warts and on the cheeks. Cotton flexible collodion, if I'm saying collodion adhesive, taped false teeth made up of his visage, final touch plaster, and also how like the hump that he put on. They said that like weighed around 10 to 15 pounds. They said he had back problems, and other people said no, he didn't have back problems. But I guess it depends on what film historians would believe with that. I guess so. I can't really.
I think it's almost kind of a urban legend that he had back problems from that, but from what I've read, I don't think he did. It seems like he would,
right?
Based on the way he had to contort himself,
right?
But I guess he really didn't,
right? Also, Patsy Ruth Miller, who plays Esmeralda, the actress, said that she felt like when she was making this movie, she had more direction from Lon Chaney Sr. than she did the director, Wallace Worsley.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
It is.
So it just goes to show that he was a great colleague, too. I mean, helping his fellow actors get better performances.
Well, I mean, Lon Chaney Jr., Lon Chaney Sr. was really, like, an interesting person in general to read about. Like, you gave me a book for my recent birthday that I got about him. And I look forward to, like, reading that book for this in the future. And I remember as a kid, like, reading about him from watching documentaries or seeing the movie Man of a Thousand Faces with James Cagney, learning how that his family were deaf and mute, and people said, like, that's what made, like, his performance as, like, the silent actor so, like, effective, how he took that, like, as inspiration, like, why he's one of the greatest silent film actors for his time.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do I want to touch upon? Any other things you want to touch upon that come to mind about this movie that...
No, there really isn't anything else. I think we covered most of it.
Alright, I guess that wraps up today's video. See you next time. Say bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.